And with that, now let's move into our program. James, come on up. He's the James Madelum is the CEO of Miller Communications. James, do our honor to introduce our speaker.
Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, someone who is a real visionary for the city of Milwaukee, somebody who's a real Milwaukee guy through and through, and somebody who I'm proud to call friend. Rick Barrett, founder of Barrett Low Visionary Development, as someone who dreams big for our city and then puts in the work to make those dreams a reality. Every day, as I travel to our new offices at the Fortress, I pass through the bustling neighborhood that's developed along Commerce Street from Humboldt to Pleasant. And Rick was an early pioneer in the renaissance of this wonderful part of our city. Nearly 20 years ago, he helped do a series of developments that helped transform the beer line into what it is today. In 2007, Rick had an even bolder vision. He saw opportunity and potential in the long-neglected Park East corridor. And he proposed a 30-story residential tower, what would be the largest, the tallest building west of the river in the city of Milwaukee. Many said when he proposed it that it could never and would never be built. And that was in 2007, a year before the Great Recession. And despite that economic downturn and all the challenges that occurred, the building was built. It's been an enormous success. And as we travel through the Park East today, we can see the transformation that has occurred in that area, in part because of that catalytic investment. And today, we're here to talk about another project, the Couture, another project that many said would never be built. The fact that we are standing here today to hear about it, nearly a decade after it was first proposed, is a testament to Rick's dedication and commitment to this city. The obstacles he's overcome in the path from proposal to getting out of the ground are really incredible. They certainly could fill a book. But he saw an opportunity to transform our city's skyline, to help improve access to our lakefront, and to help create thousands of jobs in the process. And he was not going to let a whole bingo card worth of obstacles stand in his way. Many other developers would have long ago called it quits on this project and moved along to something else. But there is no quit in Rick Barrett, and our city is far better for it. Please join me in welcoming today Rick Barrett.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Rick Barrett. I'm CEO of Barrett Low Visionary. We've been doing real estate in downtown Milwaukee for 20 years. We have the ability to do horizontal development, and we have the ability to do vertical development. But, our big thing is being very creative and finding great projects. And I think probably when people think of me, it's perseverance. We fight till the end, and we try to make sure that we execute the project. Today we talk about the most important and most fun thing for me to talk about, which is downtown real estate in Milwaukee. Okay, when I think of Milwaukee, I think about not who I compete against developmentally, not my competitors in any way, shape, or form, because I view, what we do as building a city. My competition is Minneapolis, Indianapolis, Chicago. Chicago used to not be in our sights, but I think it is now. So from my perspective, I view that as a way for us to grow, to steal all of the Illinois people, because I think we had a better city. So some of the projects we've done to date, obviously James mentioned a few of them: the Modern, We've done Drexel Town Square down in Oak Creek. I think that's a cutting edge project studied from afar. Civic, municipal, commercial, it's huge. We're doing 800 units down there. We finished Emerald Row Phase 1, leased up, record times. We did Phase 2, leased up, fastest lease up in Milwaukee MSA history. And, you know, that brings us to, you know, what the topic of today is. I'm very excited about today because, you know, my love for Milwaukee, my love for the Couture, this development has transcended everything. The project is a major investment in our community, in our future, in our city, and I'm thrilled to talk about the Couture with you and the progress that has been taking place just a few blocks away from here. Here, as you look at this image, you can see that, and remember that the Couture site used to be home to Milwaukee County's downtown transit center, a bus barn located at the entrance to our city along the lakefront. Crazy, huh? That was more of a backdoor as far as I was concerned, and you know, we needed to change that. So the county and the city had a vision for Milwaukee that transpired to do more. And in November of 2011, the Milwaukee County Board voted unanimously to move ahead with plans to redevelop the transit center and develop a vision to connect downtown with what will be the lakefront development. So to move that vision forward, the county put out an RFP. Our response to that RFP was an early iteration for the Couture. Since then, you know, we faced a ton of challenges. We had legal challenges. We, you know, lake bed issues. We had to, you know, push a HUD process through for financing, and we had to get an FTA loan forgiven so that we could get the project built with the proper budget. So despite these challenges, one thing that has remained over these many years, and I know it's been a long time for everybody, we are committed to bringing this project to fruition, okay? And ushering in a new positive force for the city of Milwaukee. So with that being said, I have this animation that we are about to show you, and it has not been seen by anyone. We have been working on it for over a year, and there's been 50 people that have helped put it together. It's kind of hard to do these renderings and animations, and they take a long time. But with that, tonight or this morning you are the first people to see this. So with that, enjoy. So that's coming here. So what is that building? It's 322 market rate apartments, 700,000 square feet. It's 54,000 square feet of retail, 570 public parking spaces, 348 below grade dedicated parking spaces, and a bunch of public space. As you see, and you've seen in this imagery, as the name suggests, it was custom designed for Milwaukee's future. It's a building we simply don't have. It's unique. It'll be the new gateway between the lakefront and all of the wonderful cultural jewels that we have downtown at the lakefront already. This building will fit into that texture perfectly. We think the blending of so many elements together, public transit, public spaces, hospitality, restaurant, retail, and apartment living will create a truly unique asset at this site for Milwaukee, a one of a kind. 2 levels of public space have been imagined for pedestrian traffic, and that will bring visitors and residents through its core on their way to dinner, shopping, or festivals. The parking that's included in this development has been satisfied within its own space. We're not borrowing parking from any other location or O'Donnell parking plaza. To help us imagine how Milwaukee's new skyline will look, we created some of these new incredible renderings that are part of the next few slides. Here you can see that the Couture fits well within the lakefront, and it knits together within our commercial corridor. The next image is a view that the hop riders will be able to come through the building. Not next to the building, but actually through the building. What you're seeing there is the streetcar, as well as the BRT line that will travel out to Wauwatosa. So those two pieces of transit come right through the heart of the building, and this acts as a terminus on the eastern side of the city. This image here is a first public sneak peek of what the interior lobby will look like when you walk through the doors at the Couture. We think it's done in a very handsome way. It's modern, yet classic, yet elegant. So let's talk about how we got this done, because that was a little time getting that done. So in piecing together the financing for this project, we knew the dollars that come into this project would need to be made from others other than just this community, okay? So I went out and I looked for partners. Now, that was tough because we obviously were in a tough financial situation with the pandemic, et cetera, and we needed to really, scour from one side of the country to the other. Sometimes people ask, where actually is Milwaukee? Where is that again? When you're talking to some of these coastal, finance companies. But when all was said and done, we were able to bring in the FLCO Housing Investment Trust, who invested $104.5 million. We also included a Florida-based union fund that brought in $30 million, and we brought in an East Coast firm that brought in another $30 million. It's a $195 million project, and it also needed the very, very important investment with these national entities, but we also needed to bring in the city and the county. Their dollars are represented. If you look at, they're represented in a TIF of $19 million, and we were able to forgive the county funds of $6.8 million through that as well. With all of that and working together, we were able to put this project together. On the workforce side of things, this project has and will continue to create tremendous opportunities for job creation and workforce development. There's 2,000 construction-related jobs and 150 permanent jobs. We are committed to providing much-needed jobs and skill development in our underserved communities. We're committed to hiring 25% disadvantaged business enterprises, DBE, as it's known, and 40% of all people from Milwaukee County. The Couture is a perfect example, as you see Mayor Barrett there, of the power of public and private partnership. This is a big and bold project that the city and county truly embraced. And their leadership and innovation helped bring two more great partners to the table, the FTA and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Partnering with the city allowed us to secure the TIF support for the public infrastructure on the site, including the incorporation of transit systems, public plazas, and the park. 25% of the total building and 97% of the ground level will be for public use. The county partnered with us through the sale of the land and incorporation of the MCTS's bus rapid transit system into the heart of the building. Ultimately, this new multimodal transportation hub will serve millions of visitors annually, directing them to area retail, downtown businesses, nearby attractions, and public lakefront pathways. In this next image, you will see some of the renderings of these public spaces. What you're seeing on the left-hand side there is a public park, which will be available for use under the same hours of the Milwaukee County Park System. In this next image, what you're seeing is the park on the left-hand side. You're seeing a restaurant on the third floor with the red and white umbrellas. And you're seeing an amenity deck on top with a pool and grilling stations, cabanas, an indoor-outdoor nano-wall system. What is the club room at that fourth level? Those are amenities for the apartment dwellers and people that want to live in the building. If you've walked around lately, what you'll see is some construction that's been going on. You know, we have some important guests in the room. We've got the guys who are building the building. Thanks for being here today, guys. Findorf Construction Company, obviously the best concrete construction company in the Midwest. We're lucky to have them. So thanks for being here. But you're seeing some of their folks working here. The core of the building is 3 stories up. The bathtub has already been built. And, you know, we're going to have a 4-story retail and concrete base plinth structure by Christmas. So that 4 stories will be around the whole site. And I think people will be finally shocked by what the building is and that it's going. I think that will be by Christmas, you're going to see a monumental difference because we've been playing in the dirt for a while, and it's going to be transformational when you see that. I think Christmas would be a good time to think about that. So the excavation of the site is complete. This image kind of shows you the how the scale of the building, scale of the hole. I mean, full-grown man running around through the inside of that 2-acre site. It's a big site, really big site. The interesting part is, the construction of this project, we've been wrestling that body of water right out east of us, Lake Michigan. So we had to build this earth retention system, which is basically a bathtub that surrounds the site and basically holds Lake Michigan back. There was some time that was happening. There were guys with, these big boots and it was an incredible thing to see where we're at now and the dryness of the site and the ability for that basement, 40 feet down to be dry and not bring in water in. It's an engineering marvel. It is amazing to me that water is not coming underneath the earth retention system and creating water. We've wrestled Lake Michigan to the ground, so I'm very proud of the team and I'm proud of the engineering group. Giles Engineering did an amazing job with figuring that system out with Findorf and Rinka, and the whole team has been. I mean, that's what this is. This has been an incredible team. The all-star team of this city that's been able to get this done. So, this is where it gets really fun for me because this is where we move people into the building. So I believe that we'll have tenants and residents moving in by this time next year. So I'll be very excited to say that we'll be able to put a temporary roof system on floor 24 and hopefully start finishing from floors 4 through 24 and start showing people what we've been working on for a really long time. So it's hard to believe, but once these construction crews and Findorf and their team get in a groove, which they're in the groove now, I think they've been doing a great job. They're going to be building a floor every 4 days and flying tables. So every 4 days, we're going to go up 1 floor, but we'll be 44 stories up a year from today. So I'm very proud of that. So with anticipation of tenants moving in on the lower part sometime late summer, early fall 2023. That's our goal. A building like this it's like winning a championship, for a city. It's uplifting. It has a positive impact on the community around it. And the thing I always say is skyscrapers, which this is, breathe a different air, a different, more rarefied air than other buildings. And we have a new one coming. It's been 50 years since the last true skyscraper was built in the city, which is about the same time we won a Bucks championship. But it's time now. This one's going. So I'm happy to be here today. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. And I appreciate your time.
Short people. I recall the initial renderings of this project showing a connection between this number one, it's a beautiful project. As a downtown resident for more than 20 years, I'm really excited. But I recall seeing a connection between this project and the lakefront spanning Lincoln Memorial Drive. Is that the city's responsibility? a joint project? And regardless, what can you tell us
Sure.
to know about that?
So here's what I know. That project was an effort, and they put out an RFP throughout the country, throughout Canada, et cetera. And the team that won it, they named it the Gateway Plaza project. And it has been unfunded yet. But I believe that it will be funded at some time. And I'm hoping that that happens because the way that we've designed this building is we have connection points on the north side, the east side, and the south side. And when I described previously how many visitors will be visiting this building, that's a big piece of how we get to that type of visitor walkway. We should be able to walk from a new office tower to the south. Who knows what happens to the north, and the Gateway Plaza to the east. So that's our goal here. That's what we had always intended. So your point is exactly spot on, and our fingers are crossed that that happens.
Could you talk about, excuse me, could you talk about the experience of raising money for this project? How long did it take? How many emails did you have to send out? How many letters did you have to send out? Did you hire a placement agent? Did you do it all yourself? Did you have a team? Was it months, years?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, long. I could talk about that for the next hour, but it was a Herculean challenge. I have to say that when we hired Barrett, that's based in Milwaukee, we hired their company to help us raise the dollars. When that happened was the turning point for us. We had an incredible team out of the Washington, D.C. office for commercial real estate, and those guys did an incredible job raising this dough, and we needed it. And Baird, I tip my hat to you.
Can I ask two questions?
Two, sure.
You mentioned that the three unions put in $194 million, and I'm sure there's more investors. How are they going to get their money out of this thing? Are you going to have to sell the building at some point?
Yeah, so there's two ways they get their money out of this building. It's through a longer term hold, three ways: a recapitalization or a sale, and that's all a function of how the financial environment is when the building's full and stabilized.
I used to live at the University Club Tower across the street, and then the sister Kilbourne Tower. Over the years, they've had problems with flooding or ice freezing and all that kind of stuff. How are you going to prevent that in your building? I used to live across the street at the U Club Tower, and next door is the Kilbourne Towers. I know over the years they've had flooding or they've had leaky pipes that have affected the other residents below them. And I'm just wondering how you're going to prevent that.
It's a great question. When we built the Modern, we went and studied those buildings and how they were engineered and how they were built. When U Club Tower was built, it was built with a BAT insulation, BATT insulation on the outside wall, which over time with condensation slid down the wall, okay, and caused pipes and fire protection pipes to freeze because the BAT insulation exposed the exterior wall to the elements, which Milwaukee is a tough element location. What we did was we learned from that, okay? We made two moves. We created a spray foam insulation program. It's almost like a biology lab that gets built at the Modern, for example. It went up the building, and we spray foamed all the precast on the exterior of the building, creating this envelope so that that bat can't slide down. It's basically adhered directly to the precast concrete panel, and we've had great luck with it. We actually are a little bit on the other side of that spectrum. We are so dry and so quiet at the Modern that we need to needed with the Couture to actually create more makeup air circulation because it's such a tight building. We've had no problems on the exterior envelope. So thank you for that question. It's a good question. Go ahead.
One, thank you for presenting today. Beautiful building. And then wanted to ask, you mentioned how we're competing with some of the other cities like Minneapolis, Chicago. How do you see this project helping to increase Milwaukee's positioning? And then what would you say is the balance of bringing in some external to the state funding in terms of that commercial, and then also inspiring some commercial investment from Wisconsin-led firms as well? And how do you see that as we continue to compete as a city?
Yeah, I think a few things there. To unpack that, I would say the big thing is this community is built buildings to hold in most cases. There hasn't been a lot of transfer of or sale of apartment buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So there isn't the exit value that's been represented as other cities have, Minneapolis, Chicago, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, it's kind of an unknown. I think people don't look at Milwaukee as a place of growth, and the financial markets don't see it that way. So you have to really purvey upon them, you know, the concept of we're on a lake. This is a steady Eddie marketplace. We've got the best people in the Midwest living here. And, you know, I spend more time not talking about this project. I spend more time talking about Milwaukee with all the financial groups because they see the building. They know this is a world-class building. They say to me, can't you put this somewhere else? I said, no, I don't want it to go somewhere else. I want it to be in Milwaukee. This is where I live. And so with that being said, buildings like this with international and national investment, you know, this is what's needed. And it's the first building of its sort that has major commercial investment in this capital stack. Thank you for your question.
Rick, when you built the Modern, it had a combination of apartments and condos.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about the consideration that went into making this an all-apartment building?
That's a great question. So there's the condo market itself changed dramatically. You know, I had done a bunch of Beer Line River homes along Commerce Street and basically grew up a condo developer. And they changed the warrantability of the mortgages that were associated with the condo market and made it more difficult for lenders to actually lend at favorable rates for people. So the risk to those condos became difficult to get the velocity for sales in this marketplace. We haven't seen anything other than those 16 units at the Modern or Peter Renner's breakwater project in a lot of years. I think a lot of the reason why that happened was because of the warrantability issue of condominiums and the inability for us to get velocity in this marketplace to sell condominiums.
What does warrantability mean?
So the warrantability, good question. The warrantability is when a lending institution can go to the open market, bundle a bunch of mortgages together, and then resell them. You have to, in buildings right now, you need 50% warrantability of condos in order to get to like a Fannie product or those type of better interest rates and better terms that someone buying the condo can have. So warrantability is a big thing. Most of the banks on the Modern, for example, originally were funded, the mortgages were funded on portfolio loans. Thank you.
Rick, congratulations. It's an absolutely phenomenal project, and I know this has been a labor of love for you for some years. My question is a little more detail, if you could provide us on the apartments, the 300 apartments. What is size and range of rent that you're expecting for those apartment complexes?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So by design, there's 322 units within this building. Obviously, I don't think it would behoove us to go after the same demographic cohort with all 322 units. So what I did was I designed it for 3 primary cohorts, one being a dual income, no kids, which is, we've been very successful with a oversized 1-bedroom, and you'll see that those units are replicatable on the eastern side of the building all the way up. That demographic cohort's been very strong in Milwaukee. Second was a signature type unit, another 100 units of that sort. They're either on the corners or the penthouses, and we think that's more of a empty nester, you know, maybe even a typical condo buyer would be someone moving into that piece. And then we also included about 100 units of a junior 1-bedroom. So it's a bedroom that closes off as a 1-bedroom space, but it's priced at a price point that can be affordable to people as a young professional. So those are the 3 cohorts, about 100 units each to make up the 300 plus units. Those are the types of units we're trying to design to, and we're trying to attract that demographic cohort. Good question, thank you.
We have a question from one of our online viewers, Sebastian May. Rick, thanks for your persistence with this project. It will be a beautiful addition to our downtown. My question is this, and I'll preface it by saying that I'm a bird nerd. It is currently migration season. Last week, it was estimated that tens of millions of birds were making their way south through Wisconsin. Simultaneously, a recent study suggested that billions of birds have been lost since the 1970s, many of those attributed to building strikes. While I know that developers have an endless list of considerations to deal with when they're designing buildings, I'm curious if builders take birds into safety.
Thank you for your question. That's a good one. This particular building is 9,000 square feet at its plate. So it's a pencil type of building. So I think perhaps it's less problematic for birds flying as some of the fatter, bigger buildings that typically have the mirrored glass. So I think that, you know, the consideration for birds is basically only based in the sizing. My neighbors like it thin as well, so it works out good. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing all of this with us. It's really very exciting. 2 quick questions. One, it's like you've worked out so many of the headaches. I'm curious, what keeps you up at night with worry? And 2, are you planning to live there?
What keeps me up at night is I'm a father of 5, so there's a little bit of that goes on. But what keeps me up at night is growth, you know, and interest rates. That's what I struggle with for more projects in the pipeline. This one I feel comfortable with because we were able to use a HUD program that is a 221D4 program that has a fixed rate for the construction loan and a fixed rate for the 40 years of loan. But that's based off of what the interest rates were when we started this project 15 months ago. So we have a 3.31 interest rate on this loan, and that has remained steady. In today's market, the HUD rate's 4.5. So I'm more worried about feasibility for future projects, other projects moving forward than I am this. As far as am I going to live there? I will not live there because I don't think they allow that many children. So